Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're having an incredible day. Today I am teaching a challenging steel mace drill combining arrows, an overhead pass, and cradle grip. This exercise will increase our functional bicep and shoulder strength along with our coordination and core activation. We'll take a look at the drill next, and then we'll dive in. To teach you this drill, we're going to start off with the arrow since it's the primary landmark we're working with. Doing the arrow is simple. I'll come into my warrior stance with both hands bottom of the mace, nice, tall, strong core. From here, I'll bring one hand to the top of the mace, keeping the other at the bottom, and I'll bring the mace from hip to opposite side shoulder with the head staying high. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to either do a half arrow where I extend out to the side, keeping the weight above my elbow so I can control it better, or the full arrow where I extend all the way out to the side and a look at the head of the mace. And then to switch, I'll simply bring it back in, do a simple prayer switch at the top of the mace, and then perform the same thing, either half arrow or full arrow. Now, as you go through the arrow, and certainly practice this before you move on to the rest of this drill, it is very important that you keep in mind a couple of pro tips. The primary two tips that I want you to focus on are one, keeping the arm that is holding the head of the mace in external rotation. That means my palm is facing up and my shoulder is open, and if I were to be lifting it, my palm would be facing up. That's a really important cue. That's the first pro tip. Second pro tip is that as you have the arrow far out to the side, don't tip towards the head of the mace and don't tip away from the head of the mace. Bring the mace in if you can't keep a perfectly straight spine, and once you can, at a certain position, you can extend out further. And if you'd like more coaching tips, don't miss out on my Flow Fridays newsletter, which provides deeper insights about mace flow techniques. You can sign up on my website at the link in the description below. Now we're gonna move on to the overhead pass. Performing the high pass in this drill is really simple. We're going to hold our mace near the head of the mace, and all that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be alternating from the mace pointing straight down to straight up with my palms facing out to straight down once more. So it is simply going to be alternating from one hand to the other, palms facing out as I switch sides. And to integrate this into the arrow that we just learned, we're gonna do this. Come into your arrow, I'm going to push down on the tail and flip the mace upside down, catching in that Yin Yang pass that we just learned. And then I'm going to drop the tail to the side, reconnect, and slide my hand up. And then push into another arrow and repeat. So push down, flip upside down, spin, hip to opposite side shoulder and reconnect, slide the hand up, and arrow. And this is a really great drill to be able to practice some of the concepts that we're covering today, because it's a little bit simpler than the full drill that I'm about to teach you. So start out with this variation and then move on to add in the cradle grip. Performing the cradle grip is also very simple. What we're going to do is come into our warrior stance, bring one hand to the top of the mace, bring it down across our body, and then I'm going to curl one hand down, so I'm opening that bicep, and then I'll begin to close it as I come into this curled position. And next what I can do is I can bring my one hand underneath the head of the mace and extend out into the arrow. And then I am simply going to bring the mace back in, drop that arm open, and then curl under once more and continue with my arrows. And for an added challenge, instead of bending your arm to bring it back in before you cradle grip, you can also bring it right into the cradle grip from the arrow and alternate like this. So you have a couple different options here, this one being the harder one and this one being the slightly easier one. And mastering the cradle grip is essential. All we're doing is we're dropping the heavy part down and then curling under. And that is how we get into our cradle grip. So now that we know the arrow, the Yin Yang pass, and the cradle grip, we're ready to put the whole drill together into one. To perform the full drill, we're going to come into our warrior stance once more with both hands bottom of the mace. I'll bring one hand to the top of the mace, bring it hip to opposite shoulder, and then I'll fire my arrow over one side, following it with my gaze. Next, I'll push down on the tail and flip it upside down into that pass. And next, I'm going to extend it out slowly. I'm going to allow the tail to spin up and then continue into the cradle grip that we just learned. And then I'll fire the same arrow, and then I can switch sides. So I'm going to bring it back in across my body, hip to opposite shoulder, prayer switch, just like we did in the beginning of this video, slide the hand down, and arrow. And then push down on the tail, yin yang, extend out, allow it to bring the tail up, mace drops down, and now the heavy part should be pointing back where our arrow was. So I'll fire one more arrow, bring it back in, hip to shoulder, and then switch, hands at the top of the mace. And you can repeat. So arrow, yin yang, drop it down through cradle, arrow, switch. Arrow, yin yang, drop through cradle, and arrow. And that is all that there is to the flow. Now, one key thing to keep in mind, you want to keep the mace as close to your body as you can when you're going through the yin yang and the cradle. Because when I curl it in, it's going to be much easier for me to control the mace if it's here next to my body in line with my abdomen than if I do a yin yang and try to extend all the way out into that arrow. That'll just be a more challenging variant, so you can absolutely explore it. But as you start out, begin here and make sure that the tail doesn't whack you in the jaw. That would suck. So that is the drill. Get the functional biceps rolling and enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want to level up your mace skills fast, and I will see you on the next Flow Made Simple video. Peace.